Ben Affleck, a very ungrateful narcissist, Part 8. We have taken a detailed trawl through much of the life of Ben Affleck, from his early beginnings and family background, to his work that he's undertaken, the awards that he's won, the various relationships that he's had with numerous women, his interactions with his ex-wife, recent disclosures with regard to his attitude towards her, his response to criticisms, his ongoing battle with regard to the use of alcohol. There's plenty of other material that I have reviewed also, but haven't included in order to ensure that this series doesn't run on for a very long time indeed. As a consequence of this, we then need to determine, is he a narcissist? As I've explained at the beginning, we can't determine this from just one or two instances. We have to look at a range of behaviours that have taken place over a period of time. In so doing, we've identified that Affleck operates with a significant and strong sense of entitlement. He had a swift engagement to Jennifer Lopez. He has been incessantly hoovering her with the text messaging and emailing that was engaged in. He has a habit of ordering people around. He engages with the shelving dynamic, picking people up and putting them down as he sees fit. He's clearly a self-absorbed individual. He demonstrates an absence of emotional empathy. Whilst there's not particularly many reports of him cheating, it's evident that he engages in manipulative behaviour, more of that later, and he shows an absence of emotional empathy as a consequence of the failure to rein in and change his actions in a meaningful and permanent way with regard to how he has treated his wife and children and other people around him. Whilst he is not someone that's identified as habitually brawling in bars, fucking women left, right and centre, setting houses on fire and shouting obscenities in the street, nevertheless, his behaviours in a more passive-aggressive manner have been problematic for people. He demonstrates an absence of accountability. He's told lies. He's engaged in repeated drinking and has failed to account for his behaviour in that regard. With certain relationships, he's given them no definition and has failed to address the problems that have arisen in them. He exhibits considerable grandiosity. He engages in showmanship. It's clear that he thinks he's better than many other people. He engages in financial largesse. He boasts about his successes, and he engages in monologues. He shows haughty behaviours. He's dismissive, holds court, is arrogant, doesn't appear to look up to anybody. He's a poor listener. He exhibits obnoxious behaviours at times, and he operates with a polished haughtiness at times. He utilises lots of different manipulations. He engages in flattery, bribery, the telling of lies, triangulating of people with objects, triangulation of people with other people, present silent treatments. He engages in pity play, smearing, promised gain, false compassion, false contrition, invalidation, belittlement, withdrawal, denial, use of guilt, provocation, projection, blame shifting, triangulation with children, use of insult, revision of history, argumentativeness, feigned misunderstanding, deflection, and isolation. He has very poor boundary recognition. This is evidenced by the incessant texting and email that he's engaged in, his flirtatious behaviours, the fact that he's overly tactile, that he engages in sexual assaults, that he's engaged in inappropriate communications with people, and he repeatedly transgresses the professional and work boundary. Finally, he shows substantial aspects of the narcissistic dynamic, which includes the monopolization of time, familial discord, facade management, seeing others as an extension of himself. He acquires character traits from people. He exhibits black and white thinking. He shows that he must have a need for control over people, and that he responds to perceived threats to that control. He engages in hypocrisy. There's objectification of people, compartmentalization of them, the exhibition of paranoia, hoovering behaviours, and having many intimate relationships. We also, of course, have the fact that given that his father was a narcissist, that the genetic predisposition for narcissism exists, and he certainly grew up in a lack of control environment, notwithstanding the attempt by his mother to act as a stable intervening influence. Accordingly, as a consequence of there being evidence of the sense of entitlement, the absence of emotional empathy, a lack of accountability, grandiosity, haughty behaviours, manipulative behaviour, poor boundary recognition, and aspects of the narcissistic dynamic, it is clear that Ben Affleck is indeed a very ungrateful narcissist. Having established that he is a narcissist from looking at this wide range of behaviours over a period of time, which support the various points that I've just made across the high evidential threshold applied to the various categories, part of the process for putting somebody under the Tudorscope, where does this leave us in terms of which school of narcissist is he and what's his cadre? As you're aware from my work, I divide narcissists into 4 cadres: victim, somatic, cerebral, and elite. Elite being an amalgam of both somatic and cerebral. With regard to the schools, there are 4 main schools: lesser, mid-range, greater, and ultra. Those schools have certain similarities, but also major differences. Within 3 of those main schools, lesser, mid-range, and greater, we have sub-schools: lower lesser, middle lesser, upper lesser A, and upper lesser B; lower mid-range, middle range A, middle range B, and upper mid-range; lower greater, middle greater, and upper greater. If you'd like to understand more about the lesser and mid-range sub-schools, you'll do no better than going to the Knowledge Vault and obtaining HG Malls, and you'll find the relevant sub-school there. Those detailed pieces of information will not only entertain you, but will give you added insight with regard to the characteristics and behaviours of the relevant sub-school. Furthermore, you can also get the HG Malls series for the 4 cadres, again extending your knowledge in that regard. This will give you excellent insight, which will not only help you just increase your understanding of narcissism, but also will aid you with regard to ascertaining more information about the narcissist that you might be involved in. And of course, ultimately, the most appropriate way to do it is to use the narc detector, which you'll find in the menu bar in the video description, and will give you the opportunity to utilize my unrivaled expertise applying objective analysis to the evidence to help you make a determination. But if you'd like to know the school and cadre of Ben Affleck, then you can do so. All you need to do is use the link in the video description below, which will take you to the Knowledge Vault, and there you can obtain the detailed breakdown, something that rounds off neatly this detailed explanation that I have already provided to you. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.